Welcome, mysterious viewer from somewhere out there. Are you watching from the edge of the world or the center of the action? Leave your city and country in the comments, and hit share like you mean it. Time to begin. That February morning in the outskirts of Minneapolis unfolded like so many others, unremarkable at first glance. The sky hung low, thick with clouds that hinted at snow yet to fall. In the kitchen, our battered 12-year-old coffee maker coughed and rattled as it forced out another pot. A pot I'd been promising to replace for months. Lauren sat at the table, shoulders slumped, hands curled around her mug like it was the only thing keeping her grounded. Her face was pale, worn, eyes dulled by fatigue. I should have paid closer attention. The tremble in her fingers, the restless way her gaze skirted mine. But I didn't. My phone commanded my focus instead, notifications from Henderson and Associates already clawing me into another day of deadlines and impossible expectations. "Derek, I can't do this alone." The sound of her voice cut straight through the haze of routine. I set the phone down, a rare concession, given her constant frustration at my habit of scrolling through mornings, and actually looked at my wife. Maybe really looked at her for the first time in weeks. Lauren had always been beautiful to me. 15 years earlier, I'd fallen for her in a dingy karaoke dive on University Avenue, captivated by her off-key but fearless rendition of "Don't Stop Believin'" with her girlfriends. Back then, her auburn hair tumbled over her shoulders, catching neon light, and her green eyes carried a spark that made it impossible to look away. At 38, that hair was cut practical and short, those green eyes muted by exhaustion and dark shadows no makeup could hide. "What's going on, Lauren?" I asked, leaning across the scratched oak table, the same one we'd salvaged from a yard sale and refinished together back when home projects felt like weekend adventures, not chores. "I haven't been able to sleep," she said quietly, her fingers tightening around the mug for warmth. "Not for months." The words landed hard. Months? How had I not seen it? Why didn't you tell me sooner? She lifted one shoulder in a small, defeated shrug, so unlike the confident woman I'd married. "You've been drowning in that Henderson project. I didn't want to make things harder." The Henderson project. 6 grueling months of 18-hour days and sacrificed weekends. Rolling out a new inventory system for a sporting goods chain had devoured every moment of my life. Enough that I'd missed Megan's school play, walked out of Travis's baseball game mid-inning, and somehow failed to notice my wife unraveling right in front of me. "Lauren," I said, reaching for her hand, startled by how cold it was. "You never make things harder. If something's wrong, I need to know." "Dr. Price thinks I should do overnight sleep studies," she said, pulling her hand back to her mug. "Once a week, for a month. Sleep studies?" My knowledge of them was limited to TV dramas. That's the thing where they hook you up to monitors, right? Exactly. They track brainwaves, breathing, muscle movement, everything. She finally met my eyes. "Price thinks my case is complicated. She needs multiple nights of data to figure it out. Once a week sounds intense. Is that normal?" A flicker crossed her face. Something quick, unreadable. Fear, irritation. It disappeared before I could name it. "She says some patients need more detailed monitoring. The university's sleep center has a program for severe cases." "When do you start?" "Thursday night, only 3 days away." I started mentally rearranging schedules. If I handled the kids and worked from home Fridays, we could make it work. "Whatever you need," I said. "We'll figure it out." I stood, circled the table, and pulled her into my arms. At first she tensed, but then I felt her sink into me, slow and reluctant. "Want me to drive you? Stay while they set you up?" "No." The word came out too fast, too sharp. She softened immediately. "I mean, they want normal routines before the test, and someone needs to be with the kids." "Of course." I kissed the top of her head. The scent of her shampoo was familiar, vanilla, but threaded with something else. Perfume? Since when did she wear perfume? "I should get ready for work," I said, though I didn't move. Something felt wrong. Not enough to name, but enough to notice. "Derek?" She tilted her face up toward me. "Thank you for understanding." "Always," I said, and I meant it. That night, I kept my eyes on her more than usual. Over dinner, Lauren seemed restless, glancing at her phone between bites. When Travis asked for help with multiplication homework, she snapped, then immediately apologized. "Mom's just tired," I told him gently, catching her glance. "Is that why you have to go to the hospital?" Travis asked, pencil hovering midair. "So you can learn how to sleep?" "It's not really a hospital," Lauren said, her voice tight. "It's a clinic. The doctors just watch how people sleep." "That's weird," Megan muttered, not looking up from her phone. "When I was 12, it felt like life was just a loop of absurd rules, endless monotony, and unfairness at every turn. Why couldn't someone just invent a way to fast forward through the boring parts?" "Megan, phone down at the table," I reminded her automatically, the words leaving my mouth before I even thought about them. And no, there wasn't some magic shortcut, not even close. Whatever. She slumped in her chair, perfecting that silent preteen rebellion. "Can I go to Sophia's Thursday?" She said her mom's driving us to the mall. "Ask your dad," Lauren murmured, not even lifting her eyes from her plate. "I won't be here." Later that night, after we cleared the table, I found Lauren in our bedroom, motionless in front of the overnight bag resting on the bed, the same one she'd used when we brought Travis home from the hospital. "You doing okay?" I asked softly. She startled, then forced a thin, uneven smile. "Just deciding what to bring." The packet had said, "comfortable clothes," which didn't mean much when you were headed to a medical center. "Pajamas, maybe a change for tomorrow," I offered. "Want help packing?" "Number, I've got it." She turned toward her dresser, digging through drawers with quiet precision. "Make sure Travis practices violin," she added. "He's been skipping." The tone was gentle but final, a clear dismissal. I stepped back and left her alone. Lauren had always been like that, guarding certain parts of herself. Even after 15 years together, she still locked the bathroom door, even when I was the only one in the house. Some boundaries you eventually learn to stop asking about. On Wednesday, I stayed late at work, trying to finish enough so I could be around if she needed me afterward. By the time I slid into bed around 1, she was turned away from me, still and quiet. Sleeping, or pretending. I curled an arm around her waist. She stirred faintly. "Sorry," I whispered. "Didn't mean to wake you." "It's fine," she mumbled, voice heavy with exhaustion. "What time is it?" "Late. Try to sleep." "Funny," she murmured. There wasn't even a trace of humor. "That's exactly the problem." Thursday arrived with warnings blaring about a winter storm. Half a foot of snow had already buried the driveway. I worked from home, shoveling in frantic bursts between video calls. Lauren spent the day moving like a ghost, starting tasks and abandoning them halfway through. After school, she began making cookies with Travis, only to stop mid-measurement, suddenly remembering she still hadn't packed. "But we didn't even put them in the oven," Travis protested. "Dad will help," she said, already climbing the stairs. I took over, showing Travis how to shape dough while Megan sat at the counter, pretending to do homework as her thumbs flew across her phone screen. "Dad?" Travis asked carefully, placing chocolate chips in perfect rows. "Why does Mom have to sleep at the hospital? When I got my ears fixed, we came home that same day." "This one's different," I told him gently. "They need to watch her sleep all night so they can figure out what's going on." "Maybe she just needs a better bed," he reasoned, 9-year-old logic unshakable. "Jake's mom got one of those foam ones, and now she sleeps great." "Maybe," I said with a smile, sliding the tray into the oven. "We'll see what the doctors say." At 5:30, Lauren came downstairs with her bag. She wore jeans and a fitted red sweater I'd never seen before, warm, softer than her usual clothes. "Is that new?" I asked. She glanced down, surprised. "Oh, yeah. Bought it last week. You like it?" "You look amazing," I said. And she did. The red brightened her tired face, gave her eyes a kind of quiet fire. "Thanks." She set the bag by the door and knelt to hug the kids goodbye. "Be good for Dad," she told them, holding Travis an extra beat. "No late nights." "Will you be back for breakfast?" he asked. "I'll be home before school," she promised. Then she looked at Megan. No going to Sophia's without checking in, okay? Mom, I already asked. I know, just be careful. At the door, she turned to me. I'll text when I get there, and again in the morning. Drive safe. Roads are nasty, I said, kissing her. Her lips were cold, trembling slightly. Hey, I whispered. This is good. You're finally getting help. Right, she breathed. Of course. She hesitated, then added quietly, Derek, I love you. I love you too. I stood in the doorway, watching her Honda back down the slick driveway, tires spinning before they caught. The taillights disappeared into the storm. I closed the door against the wind. Dad! Cookies! Travis shouted from the kitchen. I bolted back, slightly overbaked but still edible. That night, we decorated them together, frosting and sprinkles everywhere. Even Megan put down her phone long enough to join in, creating cookie art that looked more like tiny crime scenes than anything sweet. At 7:15, Lauren texted, Made it safe. Getting settled now. Love you. I replied, Good luck, sweet dreams, literally. She sent back a single heart emoji. I should have caught on sooner. Lauren always rolled her eyes at emojis, preferring proper sentences with punctuation, even in quick texts. That night, after tucking the kids in, I sat alone at the desk in our home office. The Henderson spreadsheets glared back at me, but my mind wandered. What exactly was happening at the sleep clinic? Were they strapping electrodes to Lauren's scalp right now? Was she managing to stay calm? Could anyone really get rest with wires trailing across their body? Curiosity got the better of me. I typed University Sleep Center Minneapolis into the search bar and clicked through their site. Everything about it screamed legitimate: polished design, clinical tone, detailed sections about insomnia treatments, and the necessity of precise diagnosis. Their descriptions matched what Lauren had mentioned: overnight observation, constant monitoring, data collection in a controlled environment. So why couldn't I shake the knot in my stomach? Pushing the unease aside, I worked until midnight and finally collapsed into bed. Without Lauren, the house felt strangely hollow, too still, even with the furnace humming and wind rattling the windows. I stretched across the middle of the mattress, thinking the space might feel luxurious, but eventually curled back to my usual spot, leaving hers untouched. My sleep was restless, full of bizarre dreams, hospitals shifting into hotels, then transforming into unrecognizable places. By morning, gray light filtered weakly through snow-heavy clouds. I was up at 6, showered and dressed before her message came at 6:45. All done, exhausted, heading home soon. When Lauren walked in at 7:30, breakfast waited: scrambled eggs, toast, and coffee strong enough to wake the dead. She looked wrecked, hair hastily tied, makeup smudged. How was it? I asked, pouring her a mug. Awful, she muttered, dropping into a chair. Barely slept. All the wires? And the hourly check-ins. Impossible to relax. But did they get what they needed? Apparently, she said, nudging at her eggs. I have to go back next Thursday. Already? That soon? They want consistent readings. Her flat tone killed the conversation. The kids barreled downstairs, Travis still in dinosaur pajamas, Megan dressed but sulky. Morning chaos exploded, signing permission slips, digging up lunch money, arguing over winter coats. Mom, you look terrible, Megan blurted. Thanks, sweetheart. Every woman loves hearing that. I mean, you look tired. Did it not help? These things take time, Lauren replied. Medicine always does. After the kids headed to school, Lauren trudged upstairs for a shower. I cleaned the kitchen, then returned to my office, but work was impossible. Something gnawed at me, like remembering only fragments of a song, the melody looping endlessly. On impulse, I logged into our insurance portal to check what coverage we had for sleep studies. Better to prepare for the bills ahead of time. Under recent claims, I found Travis's eye appointment from last month, Megan's urgent care visit for her sprained ankle, my physical from December, but nothing about Lauren. No sleep study claims, no pending paperwork, nothing. Maybe it was still processing, I reasoned. Insurance companies were infamously slow. They might wait until all the sessions concluded before filing anything. That explanation worked. Kind of. But the unease didn't fade. It deepened. The next Thursday arrived in a blur. Lauren grew edgier by the hour, snapping at the kids, glued to her phone, eyes darting like she was waiting for something. "Everything okay?" I asked as she packed her overnight bag. "Fine. Just dreading another sleepless night. Maybe this one will be easier. You know what to expect now." "Maybe." She zipped the bag with more force than necessary. The goodbye ritual was familiar. Hugs for the kids, a kiss for me, quick promises to text. I watched her drive off, then settled in with Travis's homework while Megan video chatted with friends. That night, though, I couldn't sleep. I stared at the ceiling, thoughts spinning. Why was I obsessing over this? Lauren had a medical condition and was seeking treatment. I should be supportive, not suspicious. Yet the doubts clung stubbornly. The new wardrobe, the sudden perfume, her guarded answers, the missing insurance records. Maybe I was paranoid. Maybe work stress was twisting my thoughts. After 15 years together, we'd endured layoffs, funerals, even a miscarriage that nearly destroyed us. We didn't lie to each other, did we? By the third week, the routine was set. Every Thursday, Lauren's mood soured. She'd pack grimly, leave with a guilty kiss, and return Friday morning hollow-eyed, saying almost nothing. "How are they supposed to figure anything out if you can't sleep during the tests?" I asked after her third visit. "They're still collecting data," she said vaguely. "Dr. Price says it's a process. Maybe I should talk to her. Try to really understand what's happening." "No." The sharpness of her reply startled both of us. She immediately softened her tone. I can handle it. You don't need to involve yourself in this." "I'm your husband. I'm already involved." "That's not what I'm saying." She abruptly stood, carried her coffee mug to the sink, and spoke quietly. "I'm going to take a shower." By the fourth Tuesday, I'd reached a conclusion. Or maybe it was less a choice than the feeling that the choice had already been made for me. It happened while I was paying bills online, when I noticed yet again that there were no insurance claims for Lauren's so-called treatments. During my lunch break, I called Harbinger Insurance. I parked in the office lot and stayed in my car for privacy. "Harbinger Insurance, this is Rachel. How can I help you today?" "Hi, Rachel. I need to check on some claims for my wife. She's been having weekly sleep studies at the University Sleep Clinic, but I don't see anything posted on our account." "Of course I can check that for you, Mr. Mitchell. May I have your member ID?" I rattled off the 16-digit number I'd long since memorized. "Thank you," she said after a moment. "I've got your account pulled up. What dates were those studies?" I listed them, every Thursday for the past 3 weeks with another scheduled in 2 days. I heard typing. Silence. More typing. Finally, "Mr. Mitchell, I'm not finding any claims or authorizations for sleep studies under your wife's name." My stomach dropped like I'd just crested the first hill of a roller coaster. "Could they just not have been submitted yet?" I asked. "Sir, sleep studies require prior authorization. They're expensive, anywhere from $2,000 to $5,000 each. We'd have records of approval before the procedures, not after. $2,000 to $5,000 per session. 4 sessions so far. Nearly 20 grand in treatments that didn't exist in the insurance system." "Has her physician sent in a referral?" Rachel asked. I thought she had. Lauren said Dr. Price referred her. "I do see Dr. Hannah Price listed as her primary care doctor," Rachel confirmed. "But there haven't been any referrals from that office. None at all for the last 6 months." My mouth went dry. Could it be under another name? A filing error? "I'm looking at every record on your policy," Rachel said. "The last claim for Mrs. Mitchell was her annual physical in November." "I see." My voice sounded flat, disconnected, as if it belonged to someone else entirely. "What if she's paying out of pocket?" I asked. "That's possible," Rachel admitted. "Unusual for something this costly, though. And even if she planned to request reimbursement later, we'd still recommend pre-authorization." "Right, makes sense." My free hand clenched around the steering wheel. "Thank you, Rachel. I'll check with my wife." "Is there anything else I can do for you today, Mr. Mitchell?" That's all, thanks." I sat in the car long after ending the call, watching people filter in and out of the office building, Normal people leading normal lives, not discovering that their spouses had been fabricating entire medical treatments. Because that's what this was, wasn't it? Lauren wasn't going to sleep studies. She was going somewhere else, doing something else. Every Thursday. The explanation was glaringly obvious, and yet I couldn't let myself believe it. Not without evidence. Not yet. Maybe she was embarrassed about the cost and paying cash. Maybe she went to a different clinic that didn't bill insurance. Maybe I was just inventing excuses for something I already knew deep down. That night, I studied Lauren as though she were a stranger wearing my wife's face. She made chicken stir-fry for dinner, overcooked, distracted. She helped Travis with his science project, but her mind was clearly elsewhere. Later, she sat beside me on the couch during a TV show, silent. She didn't laugh at the jokes or poke holes in the plot like she usually did. "You all right?" I asked during a commercial. "You seem far away." "Just tired," she murmured. The excuse was worn thin, and Thursday was close. "Maybe you should take a break, skip this week." "I can't. Dr. Price says consistency is important for the data." Dr. Price, the same doctor who hadn't filed a single referral in half a year. "Lauren," I began, then hesitated. What was I supposed to say? "I know you're lying. Where do you really go every Thursday? Who are you meeting?" "What?" she asked, catching the pause. For a split second, fear flickered in her eyes. "Nothing," I said finally. "Just, I love you." "I love you too," she replied, though the words sounded unsure, almost like a question. By Wednesday night, I knew what I had to do. I'd bought tile trackers on a whim after that Disney trip, when the airline misplaced our luggage for 2 days. Now finally, I had a reason to use them. They were minuscule, no bigger than a key fob, and could run an entire year without needing a new battery. I'd tried them out around the house first, stunned by how flawlessly they worked. Now one rested in my palm, cool and nearly weightless, while a storm of doubts spun through my head. Was I truly about to cross this line? Was I really preparing to monitor my own wife's movements? To shadow her like some parent catching a teenager sneaking out at midnight? What choice did I honestly have? Confronting her directly would lead nowhere. She would deny everything. She always did. Worse, she'd probably just get savvier, find ways to cover her tracks. And hiring a private investigator? That felt like something out of a bargain bin thriller, humiliating and pathetic. What I needed was certainty. I needed evidence. This was the only way forward. Thursday afternoon, while Lauren showered, I slipped quietly into our bedroom. Her overnight bag was already on the bed, zipped and ready to go. Carefully, I unzipped it, memorizing how everything was arranged so I could restore it exactly. Pajamas on top, the bargain ones I'd wrapped for her last Christmas. Toiletries crammed into the side pouch. Phone charger wound neatly around itself. Then I spotted it. A small inner pocket, zippered tight. The perfect hiding place. My hands trembled as I slid the tracker inside and closed it. The whole act took less than 30 seconds. "What are you doing?" I spun around. Megan stood framed in the doorway, still in her soccer uniform, her eyes sharp and unblinking, the same piercing eyes her mother had. "Just helping Mom finish packing," I managed, forcing my voice to stay level. "You're acting weird, Dad." "Appreciate the feedback. Don't you have homework?" She stared at me for a beat too long, far too perceptive for 12, then shrugged and padded away. I zipped Lauren's bag shut, restored everything exactly as I'd found it, and retreated to my office. That evening, our farewell ritual felt mechanical, like a scene we'd performed too many times to count. Lauren hugged the kids, promised she'd text updates, pressed a kiss to my lips at the door. I searched her face for something, hesitation, guilt, anything, but all I saw was the thin, brittle tension that had become her new normal. "Drive safe," I whispered. "Love you," she said. "Love you too." The moment her car disappeared around the corner, I pulled out my phone and opened the tracking app. A blinking dot marked our driveway. It began to move, inching down the street, refreshing every few seconds. I watched it veer onto the main road, heading toward the university. "Dad, can we make popcorn?" Travis asked from behind me. Sure, buddy, just a sec. The dot followed her usual route to campus, and for a moment my heart unclenched. Maybe I'd been wrong. Maybe she really was attending the sleep study program she'd mentioned. Maybe the insurance paperwork had just been delayed. The dot neared the university. Relief washed over me. See, everything was fine. Paranoia. That's all this was. Then it passed the university. Dad, the popcorn? Coming. I stuffed my phone into my pocket, joined Travis in the kitchen, and helped him set the microwave. My thoughts spun. Maybe she'd missed a turn. Maybe traffic forced a detour. Maybe. After the kids settled in with popcorn and a movie, I checked again. The dot had kept going, past downtown, beyond the hospital district, until it stopped at a location I didn't recognize. Riverside apartment complex. I zoomed in as far as the app allowed. Apartment buildings. No medical facility, no research lab, just ordinary apartments. Building C, tucked away in the back. For the next 2 hours, I pretended life was normal. Coached Travis through violin practice, reminded Megan 3 times about her homework, made sure they brushed their teeth before bed. The tracker didn't budge. Where's Mom again? Travis asked as I tucked him in. She's at the sleep doctor, remember? Oh, right. Do you think they'll fix her? I hope so, buddy. Me too. She's been grumpy. Kids pick up everything, even when you try to shield them. By 11, with the house finally quiet, I sat in the dark living room with my laptop, researching Riverside apartments. Mid-range complex. Mostly 2-bedroom units, decent ratings, affordable rent. The kind of place young professionals lived, or the kind of place someone might use for an affair. The thought hit like a gut punch. An affair. Lauren was having an affair. No, don't leap to conclusions. She could be visiting a sick friend. Maybe the sleep center relocated. Maybe there was some satellite facility I didn't know about. But deep down, in that raw place that recognizes truth before your mind admits it, I already knew. The tracker stayed fixed there at midnight. At 1, at 2. Sleep came in fragments. I dozed off and jolted awake every hour, checking my phone each time. Always the same location, Building C, Riverside Apartments. By 5, I gave up on rest entirely. I showered, dressed, jeans and a polo, casual and unthreatening, the uniform of a husband picking up his wife from a clinic. Before heading out, I made one quick stop. Dunkin' Donuts on Maple. The kid at the counter looked barely awake. What can I get you? Large coffee and a dozen assorted. Her eyes lit up a little. Big day? Something like that. I muttered under my breath, peeling bills from the emergency roll we always hid behind the flour jar in the kitchen. A dozen minutes later, I was easing off the freeway, heading toward Riverside Apartments. The place was wrapped in pre-dawn stillness, windows mostly dark, the hush so heavy it felt like the world was holding its breath. Building C was easy to spot. 3 squat stories high with exposed staircases clinging to its face like scaffolding. Lauren's Honda sat in a visitor spot, windshield dulled by a thin sheet of frost. The tracker showed her inside, 2nd floor, right by Unit 305. I left the engine running for a moment, heater roaring, coffee cooling in my hand. The air inside the car smelled of warm donuts, sugary and thick. This was it, the moment where everything I thought I knew could come undone. One knock on that door, and nothing would ever go back to what it was. 15 years of marriage, 2 kids, a house full of memories, patched together through trials and triumphs. All of it perched on the knife edge of whatever waited beyond that hallway. I killed the engine, pocketed the coffee and donuts like props in some bleak play, and climbed the stairs toward the 2nd floor. The hallway carpet swallowed the sound of my steps. At the far end, 305 sat waiting, a lonely doormat, its only greeting. My hand hovered over the door, trembling. What if I was wrong? What if this was all some cruel misunderstanding? But then I remembered the fake insurance calls, the Thursday nights she worked late, the flimsy excuses that fell apart if you so much as breathed on them. My knuckles struck the wood, 3 firm knocks that rang far too loud in the stillness. Inside, faint movement, Low voices, muffled but unmistakably human. Was one of them hers? Footsteps approached. The lock clicked. The door swung open to reveal someone I'd never seen before. He was tall, 6'2", easy, with the sculpted look of a man who spent hours at the gym. His hair stuck up in messy tufts, and he wore only boxers and a fitted t-shirt stretched across his chest. Behind him, the apartment glowed faintly, modern decor peeking through, sleek furniture, a massive TV, clean lines straining for maturity. Yeah? His voice was rough with sleep, annoyance barely concealed. I forced a grin, raising the coffee and donuts like a peace offering. "Oh, this isn't the sleep lab?" I asked, light and casual. "I'm here to pick up my wife." The shift in his face was instant, confusion flickering into recognition, then hardening into pure panic. His eyes darted toward the apartment behind him, then back to me, caught between denial and dread. "Your wife?" he stammered. "Lauren Mitchell." I gestured toward the lot below. "That's her Honda right out front. She told me she was doing an overnight sleep study at the university. Did I screw up the address?" His mouth opened and closed soundlessly, like a fish gasping for air. And then, floating from deeper inside, came a voice I knew better than my own. The voice that had whispered, "I love you" to me just 12 hours ago. "Who is it, babe?" Babe. The word hit like a hammer. Once she'd called me that. Back when we believed love could weather anything. Before sleep studies and secret apartments. Before men in boxers answering doors at 6 in the morning. The stranger, no name for him, looked like he wished the floor would swallow him whole. I didn't give him that mercy. I stepped past him, voice sharp. "Lauren, sleep study's over." The inside was exactly what I'd pictured. Hardwood floors pretending to be upscale, granite counters trying too hard, a leather couch that screamed, "Rent to own." Near the door sat Lauren's overnight bag, flats neatly lined on the shoe rack, practical shoes for long days. So familiar, so painfully domestic. How many Thursday nights had been spent here in this careful little lie? She emerged from the bedroom, and the sight nearly took me to my knees. She wore a man's robe, blue terry cloth, oversized and loosely cinched. Her hair was tangled, makeup smudged, her face stamped with sleep. But she hadn't woken up beside me. Her eyes went wide, the color drained from her face like someone pulling a plug. Her mouth worked soundlessly before finally forcing out, "Derek, what are you—" "Picking you up," I cut in, holding up the coffee and donuts like damning proof. "From your sleep study, brought breakfast." I swept a slow glance around the room. Though, doesn't look much like a lab. Did they move locations? Home-based trials now? "Derek, I can explain," she whispered, voice cracking. "Perfect," I said, already striding toward the hall. "Let's explain to everyone." My heart thundered, but my thoughts were razor-sharp as I slammed my fist against the neighboring door, Unit 304. 3 pounding blows that echoed through the hallway, shuffling footsteps, hushed murmurs, then the creak of hinges. An older man appeared, bathrobe cinched tight, baseball bat clutched white-knuckled in his grip. "Morning," I greeted brightly, lifting the coffee and donuts as if this were normal. "Any idea where the university sleep center is? My wife's supposed to be there." Confusion replaced suspicion in his eyes. A woman, his wife maybe, shuffled up behind him, curlers bouncing in her gray hair. "Sleep center?" she echoed, blinking in bafflement. His gaze flicked from his wife back to me, eyebrows drawn tight. "Kid, this is an apartment building." I raised my voice, letting it echo down the hallway. "That's odd," I replied evenly, "because my wife's been coming here every Thursday night. Doctor's orders, sleep therapy, chronic insomnia." The man's wife stepped forward, sharp and observant, scanning the scene, me holding a cup of coffee and a bag of donuts, the open door of Unit 305, Lauren in a man's robe, frozen in the doorway, and the broad-shouldered stranger behind her, stiff and silent, like he hoped the wall might swallow him. "Harold," she said quietly but firmly, "I don't think this young man's wife is here for any kind of sleep therapy." I didn't acknowledge her. Instead, I pivoted to the next apartment, rapping my knuckles hard on the door. Important treatments, I announced loudly, as if reciting facts to a courtroom. Very important treatments. Bang, bang, bang. A door creaked open. A young couple peeked out, she clutching a baby monitor, both wearing the bleary faces of people yanked from dreams. Apologies for the interruption, I said calmly. I'm looking for the sleep clinic. My wife Lauren, she's been coming here for weeks, Thursdays, insomnia treatments. More doors cracked open. Pajama-clad neighbors trickled out, curiosity pulling them from their rooms. Robes, sweatpants, even one person in curlers. Perfect. The more witnesses, the better. Anyone seen Dr. Price? I called out, voice carrying. She's the one who referred Lauren here. At the far end of the hall, another door opened. A woman in scrubs stepped out. For a fleeting moment, hope flickered. Maybe there was some explanation. But her confused expression matched everyone else's. I'm a nurse, she said carefully. There's no clinic in this building. These are just apartments. Lauren Mitchell, I shouted down the corridor. Where's the sleep center? Lauren stepped out fully then, robe pulled tight, face collapsing under panic and dread. Behind her came the man, Scott, I'd later learn, now in basketball shorts, trailing her with the look of someone praying for invisibility. Derek, please, Lauren begged. Just stop. We can go home and talk, please. I ignored her, eyes fixed on the crowd. She's been very dedicated to her treatment, I told them, voice steady but cutting. Every Thursday, not one session missed. Another woman, this one in curlers, different from the older man's wife, stepped closer, pity softening her expression. Sweetheart, she murmured gently. There's no clinic here. That's apartment 305, and that man is Scott. He lives there. Scott, apartment 305, the man treating my wife's insomnia. Well, that's peculiar, I said, sarcasm dripping. Because our insurance company doesn't seem to have any claims on file. Imagine that. Whispers surged through the hallway. A tattooed neighbor already had his phone out, recording. Good. Let the internet decide. Scott stepped forward, finally speaking. You need to leave. I jerked my arm back when he reached for me, holding up my phone like evidence. Leave? I came to collect my patient. My wife, I added, flipping the screen toward the gawkers. See this? I tracked her location, for her safety, in case something happened during her treatment. And what do you know? The sleep lab turned out to be apartment 305. You tracked her? Someone muttered from the crowd. For her safety, I repeated, unwavering. Medical procedures can be dangerous, apparently not as dangerous as this place. Footsteps pounded the stairwell. A woman in professional clothes appeared, keys jangling, hair disheveled, the unmistakable look of someone yanked from bed by an emergency. What is going on here? She demanded. I'm the building manager. Oh, thank God, I said with exaggerated relief. I've been searching for the university sleep center. My wife's been coming here every Thursday. That's her car outside. I gestured toward the window at the end of the hall. But everyone insists these are just apartments. Her eyes scanned the chaos, me clutching coffee and donuts, Lauren wrapped in Scott's robe, Scott pale and cornered, neighbors gathered like spectators at a live broadcast. Sir, the manager said carefully, this is a residential property. We don't have any medical facilities here. Then tell me, I said, voice booming so everyone could hear, why my wife has been staying here every Thursday for her supposed insomnia treatments. From the crowd, someone snorted. Guess she found a cure, they quipped, sparking laughter and whispers. That broke Lauren, completely. She bolted back inside Scott's apartment, re-emerging moments later with her overnight bag. Head low, shoulders caved, she tried to push past the crowd toward the stairs. I followed her. Loud. Intentional, making sure every single person in that hallway heard every single word. I finally tracked her down, the woman from the so-called sleep program. The supposed therapy was happening inside Unit 305, highly secretive, ridiculously selective. We reached the parking lot just as more neighbors leaned over their balconies, watching with voyeuristic curiosity. The air bit at my skin. It was one of those brittle February mornings, but I hardly noticed. Lauren fumbled with her keys, hands trembling so hard they slipped and clattered on the asphalt. "Derek, please. Just get in your car," she muttered, voice fraying at the edges. "We'll talk when we're home." "Talk about what?" I asked, my voice colder than the air. "About this miracle sleep specialist you've been idolizing, the one who apparently treats insomnia out of a cramped one-bedroom apartment. Dr. Scott, right?" I glanced toward the building just in time to see Scott vanish through the doorway, no doubt packing up, preparing to disappear. Smart man. "And you, Lauren?" I said quietly. From my jacket pocket I pulled the manila envelope I'd spent endless sleepless Thursday nights preparing. While she'd been at her studies, I'd been busy myself. "Derek, don't," she whispered. I dropped the envelope onto her windshield. Divorce papers. The winter wind tried to lift them, but they were heavy with finality. In Minnesota, insurance fraud holds the same weight as cheating. My attorney had assured me the case was airtight. The audience above us grew thicker by the second. Phones hovered, recording every angle. A live stream was already running. 15 years, Lauren, I told her, and my voice cracked for the first time. 15 years, 2 kids, and it comes to this? Fake studies, stolen Thursdays? Her tears spilled fast, mascara streaking her face in jagged black rivers. The woman I'd sworn forever to looked impossibly small, wrapped in another man's bathrobe, surrounded by strangers in a parking lot turned stage. "But don't worry," I added, loud enough for the balconies to hear. "I'm sure Dr. Scott can help with your sleepless nights. Seems you've been resting fine here every single Thursday, sticking to a very consistent treatment schedule." I turned to the spectators, gave them a tight smile. "Enjoy your morning, everyone. And hey, if anyone's in the market for sleep studies, apparently Unit 305's open for business. No insurance required. Just ask for Scott." I slid into my car and drove off, leaving Lauren standing there in silence, the crowd still filming. In the mirror, I watched her sink to her knees beside the car, divorce papers flapping lightly against the windshield. The drive home felt surreal, like I was floating outside my own body. My phone buzzed nonstop, call after call from Lauren, but I ignored them. Instead, I dialed my mom. "Can you grab the kids from school and keep them for the weekend?" I asked. "Mijo, ¿qué pasó?" Her voice was thick with worry. "Lauren and we need time to sort some things out," I said carefully. "Just tell them it's grown-up stuff, okay?" "Of course," she paused. "But are you okay?" "No," I admitted. "But I will be." By the time I walked through my front door, my phone was exploding. Not just Lauren's missed calls, but texts from friends, cousins, even unknown numbers. I finally checked why. The video had gone viral. Husband exposes wife's fake sleep study affair was trending locally. Someone had added dramatic music, captions flashing across the footage. Wife claims insomnia. Attends sleep study every Thursday. Husband brings her coffee and donuts. Plot twist. The study was her boyfriend's apartment. The comments were brutal, half cruel, half rooting for me. "Every Thursday? That's not insomnia, that's a subscription. Scott's about to lose half his gym clients. Imagine trying to sleep next door to all this." Bro came with receipts and breakfast. Receipts, breakfast. And then I saw it. Someone mentioned CrossFit. CrossFit? Scrolling deeper, I found it. Scott wasn't just a doctor. He was a trainer at Iron Fit Gym downtown. Lauren had joined 6 months ago, swearing it helped her manage stress. I laughed, sharp, bitter. Stress relief indeed. Lauren came home around 2 in the afternoon. I was waiting at the kitchen table, the same table where birthdays had been celebrated, homework fought over, and arguments whispered late at night. Divorce papers were spread across its surface. I'd already filed copies. Minnesota law doesn't waste time when adultery's involved and evidence is ironclad. She changed clothes and tried to fix her makeup, but her swollen eyes gave her away. She lingered in the doorway like a stranger, unsure if she belonged. "Sit," I said. She slid into her usual seat across from me. The symmetry felt cruel, like mocking all those breakfasts and family dinners we'd once shared. "How long?" I asked. She stared at her hands. 4 months. 4 months. While I drowned in the Henderson project, she drowned herself in someone else. While I missed our kids' events for work, she manufactured symptoms, staged studies, and lied straight to my face. Why the sleep studies? Why not just tell me you were hanging out with friends? Because then you might have wanted to join, or maybe the kids would have begged to come along too. But saying it was medical? She shrugged. No one pushes back on a health excuse. I contacted the insurance company. Her eyes widened. You did what? I told her I was worried about the bills, that we needed to know what kind of financial burden we were dealing with. I gave a bitter laugh. Imagine my reaction when they said there was no record of your treatment. I was going to explain everything, she said quietly. When? After you'd spent years sneaking out every Thursday night? After the kids moved out? On my deathbed, maybe? She whispered. It wasn't supposed to happen, she said. Scott and we connected. You were always buried in work. I felt invisible. He saw me. So you built an entire story about a medical condition? I panicked. That first night, I told you I was going to a late CrossFit class, but when it dragged on until morning, I couldn't explain it. So I lied about an ER visit for a migraine. You got so concerned, and I couldn't back out. The lie spiraled. Sleep studies, treatments, all of it. I know how terrible it sounds. It sounds like you picked deceit over honesty, like you picked him over our family. I never meant for it to get this far, but it did. I slid the divorce papers toward her. Sign them. Derek, please. Can't we at least try counseling for the kids? Counseling. I walked toward the window, staring out at the snow-covered yard. The swing set we'd built together stood there like a monument to what we'd lost. Should we tell the counselor about your fake sleep studies? About how committed you were to your so-called treatment? I made a mistake. A mistake is forgetting to grab milk at the store. A mistake is showing up late to a recital. This is 15 years of marriage destroyed for some guy named Scott in apartment 305. She signed. What choice did she have? I had video of her wearing another man's robe, witnesses confirming it, GPS logs, no insurance claims. I had all the proof I needed. What do we tell the kids? She whispered. The truth, in a way they can handle. Mommy made some bad decisions and hurt Daddy's feelings. Mommy and Daddy won't be living together anymore, but we both love you. They'll hate me. Maybe. That's not my concern anymore. You're enjoying this, she said bitterly. Nothing about this feels good. But I won't pretend it didn't happen. You made these choices. Now you deal with the fallout. She stood, hesitated at the door. For what it's worth, I'm sorry. I never wanted to hurt you. And yet you did, every Thursday night for 4 months. After she left, silence filled the house. The furnace clicked on and off. Tomorrow the kids would come home, and I'd have to explain why Mommy was staying with Grandma and Grandpa Mitchell for a while. My phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. Saw the video. Happened to me last year. It gets better. Stay strong. Another ping. You're a legend for how you handled that. Coffee and donuts? Brilliant. And another. Your wife's trash. You deserve better. I turned off my phone. I didn't want to be some meme, some viral legend. I just wanted my life back. The one where my wife went to real doctors for real reasons and came home to the life we built. But that life was gone, exposed as fake as her so-called sleep studies. The weeks that followed blurred together. Lawyers, custody negotiations, dividing up property. Paige, my lawyer, was worth every dollar. Your Honor, she said during the hearing, Mrs. Mitchell staged an elaborate medical hoax to hide an affair. She pretended to be receiving treatment for insomnia while conducting an extramarital relationship. This isn't just betrayal, she argued. It's marital misconduct, maybe even insurance fraud. Lauren's attorney, a nervous young man who looked like he wanted to vanish, claimed I'd violated her privacy. These were personal choices, he stammered. Personal choices? Paige shot back. Your client lied about medical treatment. She deceived her husband, possibly committed fraud. Mr. Mitchell delivered breakfast to a medical facility she never even set foot in. Multiple witnesses confirmed she was at her lover's apartment. That's not on my client. The judge, an older woman whose face barely moved as she read through the evidence, finally spoke. Mrs. Mitchell, you created a complex deception involving false medical claims to cover up an affair. The court considers this severe marital misconduct. I was granted the house and primary custody. Lauren got weekends and Wednesday dinners, no alimony. She moved back in with her parents, who were humiliated by the scandal. By morning, Scott, the well-known CrossFit instructor, had become infamous. His Instagram numbers skyrocketed overnight, leaping from 10,000 to 50,000 followers. But these weren't fans, they were hecklers. The comment section beneath his workout clips turned savage. Great squat form, one sneered. Is this part of your rest and relaxation program too? Others were crueler still. Family demolition classes on Thursdays. Sign up now, 20% off. Within days, Iron Fit Gym severed ties with him. He attempted to salvage his career by offering private training sessions, but the mocking nickname Sleep Study Scott clung to him like a curse. The last anyone heard, he'd fled to Arizona, desperate for anonymity. Meanwhile, Lauren tried damage control on Facebook, posting vague affirmations about healing and starting anew. But the internet is merciless, and the past refuses to vanish. A parody account emerged, Lauren's Sleep Study, dedicated entirely to mocking her. It posted weekly memes, a cartoon bed labeled Thursday Therapy Night, coffee and donuts endorsed as preferred snacks of 4 out of 5 cheaters, and a satirical ad for University Sleep Center, Riverside Campus. Eventually, Lauren deleted every one of her social profiles. But for the kids, the upheaval left scars. Megan, far more perceptive than her age suggested, pieced the truth together herself. One night, while we stood shoulder to shoulder loading the dishwasher, she broke the silence. Mom cheated, didn't she? She asked flatly. That's between your mom and me, I answered carefully. Her eyes didn't waver. Dad, I'm not dumb, I saw the video. What video? My chest tightened. She sighed, exasperated. Madison's sister showed it to everyone at school. Mom wasn't at a clinic. She was at some guy's apartment. Megan, it's okay, she cut in, voice trembling but resolute. I'm angry at her too. Travis, thankfully, was too young to grasp the full picture. For him, I simplified. Mom made some mistakes, I said. It was enough for now, though his innocent questions often gutted me. Dad, did Mom's sleep get better? Yeah, buddy, she's sleeping fine now. Then why can't she come home? It's complicated. He let out a soft sigh. Everything's complicated now. 3 months after the divorce, I met Sarah. Travis had fractured his wrist in a bike fall, and she was his attending nurse. Warm, effortlessly kind, with laugh lines that made her smile feel like sunlight. Tough split? She asked quietly, scanning the intake form where my name alone was listed as guardian. You could say that. Let's just say there were fake sleep studies involved. Recognition sparked in her eyes. Wait, are you the coffee and donuts guy? I groaned. That's what people call me now? She laughed. Oh, you're famous at the hospital. We even talked about it during lunch breaks. Consensus was, you handled it with more grace than most could manage. Bringing breakfast to catch a cheating spouse isn't exactly noble. You confronted betrayal with dignity, she countered warmly. And donuts? Always a win. We started slowly. Coffee first, then dinner, later outings with the kids. Sarah was patient with my lingering mistrust, my occasional flashbacks. One evening over pasta, she mentioned casually, "There's a cardiology conference in Chicago next month. I'll be gone 2 nights." I stiffened before I could stop myself. "Derek," she said gently, "I can show you my registration, hotel confirmation, whatever you need." "That's not necessary." "It is," she interrupted softly. "And that's okay. Healing takes time." She was right. Later, I quietly confirmed the conference online, embarrassed but relieved. Everything check out? She teased when I closed the laptop. Legit speakers, I admitted. Solid agenda. She grinned. See? No secret sleep studies this time. But hey, bring donuts when I get back. Don't push your luck, I muttered, smiling. Half a year after the scandal, Riverside Apartments found a bizarre new claim to fame. Their manager leaned into the notoriety, launching cheeky ads for Thursday night sleep study specials aimed at couples with insomnia. What began as a joke turned into a real marketing hook. Where restful nights begin, the slogan boasted, emoji included. Apartment 305 became their crown jewel. Lauren and I eventually settled into a cautious rhythm of co-parenting. Polite exchanges at pickup, terse texts about schedules, nothing more. She started seeing a man from her single-parent support group. I genuinely hoped she was honest with him. It wasn't my business anymore. Once I couldn't resist teasing her. Still battling insomnia? She flushed. Derek? Just checking, I said mildly. Want to be sure you're getting proper treatment. Fair enough, she murmured. A year later, a documentary filmmaker reached out, asking to feature my story in a piece on viral justice. I declined the interview, but the footage still made the final cut. Psychologists and relationship experts dissected it on screen. One commentator summed it up quietly. He turned personal heartbreak into something symbolic. The coffee and donuts weren't props, they were poetry. What once seemed like emblems of kindness had over time transformed into tools of exposure, an almost grandiose way of putting it, yet not entirely wrong. The kids were changing, healing. Megan, instead of letting her anger consume her, poured it into soccer. By her freshman year, she'd already earned a spot on varsity. Travis found refuge in robotics, endlessly assembling and dismantling contraptions as if searching for answers hidden in their circuitry. Maybe he was searching for answers about us, too. Why everything had fallen apart. One night, while fine-tuning a small motor, Travis asked softly, Dad, do you think you'll ever get married again? I froze for a beat. Maybe someday. Would that bother you? He gave the faintest shrug. Only if she can't sleep. Travis, what? His grin spread, sly and knowing. Sleep studies aren't cheap. Even my 9-year-old had found a way to laugh about it. Sarah and I were cautious, careful, deliberate, but it felt real, honest. She stayed over from time to time, but Thursdays, off limits. That boundary was mine, rooted in scars I wasn't ready to reopen. Sarah never pushed. Bad memories, she once said simply. We'll rewrite Thursdays. Tacos, bad movies, binging old shows, anything but reminders. One night, I confessed. I tracked her, you know. Sarah's brow arched. Like, stalker tracked her? Like a husband who knew something was wrong, I said quietly. There's a difference between violating trust and confirming betrayal. The internet, predictably, had plenty of opinions on that. Loud ones. They were rarely accurate. 2 years later, fate shoved me into Scott's orbit at a Twins game. He looked heavier, older, the CrossFit sheen dulled. A woman I didn't recognize was at his side. At first he seemed ready to duck away, but then he hesitated, turned, and approached. Derek, he said, testing the name. Scott, I replied. He studied me, choosing words like someone defusing a bomb. I wanted to say I'm sorry. I knew she was married. I just didn't care. He meant it. He looked tired, weathered. We all made decisions, I said after a moment. Yours were just worse than mine. He shifted, uncomfortable. For what it's worth, it didn't last. 3 weeks after everything blew up, she ended it. 3 weeks. Our marriage destroyed by a fling that barely outlived a fruit fly. I hope you're doing better, he added carefully. I am, I said. You? Trying. I moved back from Arizona. Teaching classes at the Y keeps me sane. We left without shaking hands, no anger left to spend. Just 2 men drifting in the wreckage of the same disaster, each salvaging what they could. The tile tracker still sits in my desk drawer. I can't bring myself to throw it away. Sometimes I pick it up and feel the weight, not of plastic, but of choice. The day I chose brutal clarity over comfortable lies. Sarah found it once, rummaging for stamps. She held it up, smirking. Your smoking gun? My insurance policy, I said. You regret it? She asked, softer now. Number, I regret needing it. I regret being pushed to that point, but the truth itself? I shook my head. Never. Not even when it hurt. Especially when it hurt, I added. Living in a lie would have stretched the pain across years. Better one sharp wound than slow bleeding. She placed it back gently. I'm glad you found out, she said. Otherwise we wouldn't be here. She was right. Every ending cracks open space for a beginning, even if that beginning starts in a hallway, with coffee, donuts, and a scene no one forgets. The kids are older now, teenagers. Megan's filling out college applications, chasing journalism. Investigative, of course. She's obsessed with uncovering hidden truths. I don't wonder where she got that from. Travis is preparing his robot for the state championships. He named it Truth Tracker. Kids process pain in strange, brilliant ways. Lauren remarried last summer. Her new husband seems fine, stable, safe, dull maybe, but safe. The kids describe him as whatever, which, honestly, is probably all we can ask for. Does he know? Megan asked me after the wedding. Know what? About the sleep studies. I'm sure your mom told him her version, I said evenly. And yours? She pushed. The real one, I replied. Thursday nights, apartment 305, Scott the CrossFit guy, the fake insomnia, coffee and donuts. Would you do it the same way, knowing how it all turned out? She asked, sincere. I thought of everything. The viral scene, the humiliation, the kids watching their mom's lowest moment and their dad's cruelest calculation, the years of therapy, the lingering trust issues, the jokes that still surface at family dinners. Yes, I said finally, though next time I'd buy better coffee. Dunkin' was awful. Megan laughed, a sound that felt like forgiveness. That day wasn't just about catching her cheating. It was the moment I saw my entire life for what it was, and chose truth, no matter how sharp it cut. Cling to comforting illusions or shatter them with unflinching honesty. I chose shatter. I chose the dawn, coffee steaming in one hand, a box of donuts in the other, a quietly hidden tracker in my pocket, and a moment so explosive it stripped every pretense bare. Some would later call it ingenious, others cruel. A handful called it justice. For me, it was just another Thursday morning, the exact instant I stopped believing in those so-called sleep studies and began trusting myself again. Because what Lauren never understood was that it was never truly about the cheating. Affairs happen, people drift, seek solace in someone else, make choices both selfish and human. It's ugly, but not unusual. No, this was always about the lie. The elaborate, relentless, medically themed lie. Those Thursday nights had turned our marriage into a rehearsed performance. The nerve of her, to meet my gaze without flinching, to rant about insurance rejections for treatments that never existed. It was breathtaking. She could have asked for time apart. She could have asked for counseling. She could have filed for divorce or confessed once the guilt became unbearable. But no. She invented an illness. She turned our family's compassion into a shield, using our care for her health as cover for betrayal. That Thursday in Building C, what I exposed wasn't just adultery. It was the exploitation of love itself. She weaponized my devotion, and the coffee and donuts, they were more than props. They symbolized every morning I'd brought her coffee in bed. Every quiet act of tenderness across 15 years. Every small devotion she pocketed while orchestrating her Thursday night lies. Would I do it differently if given the chance? Maybe I'd spare the kids the viral chaos. Maybe I'd time it better. But the truth still needed air. Lauren handed me a lesson I'll never unlearn. When someone shows you their talent for sustained, medical-grade deception, believe them. That is who they are. When you finally uncover the truth, don't bury it. Don't trade your sanity for their image. Never play along with fake doctor visits for the sake of keeping the peace. Bring coffee. Bring donuts. Make noise. Let the neighbors see. Let the internet weigh in. Make the truth as loud as the lie was quiet. The Mitchell method isn't revenge. It's revelation. It's clinging to your truth, even when your hands shake and your voice cracks. It's choosing a raw confrontation in a parking lot over the corrosive ache of pretending not to know. Trust, yes, but verify. When the insurance paperwork never arrives, dig deeper. When Thursday nights don't add up, check the math. When the sleep clinic turns into apartment 305, don't fade away quietly. Show up, with breakfast and an audience. Walk in knowing this. Painful truths always outweigh comforting illusions. In the end, everyone sleeps according to the life they've built. Lauren? She probably sleeps soundly now. No more phantom insomnia, no more fabricated treatments. And me? I sleep better than I ever have. In my own bed, in my own home, with my integrity intact. The coffee still tastes awful, but at least it's mine. The sleep study is over. But the pursuit of truth, that's forever, every Thursday night, for the rest of my life.